An entitled Karen calls the cops on me at my house, claiming that I had stole her mail. She even went as far as try to get me in trouble with my work, making some horribly outlandish claims about what I did to her property. And I'm honestly so frustrated dealing with this nightmare of a neighbor that I now seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so I have this Karen who owns the place behind mine on a private drive. A couple months ago, she threw a Halloween party and had family members driving off-road vehicles all night in circles for a haunted trail. Part of it came onto my property near my house and was keeping me awake. So I walked out in my pajama pants and kindly asked the guy driving to stay on their side of the line. Thankfully, he stopped and it was all good. Well, at least I thought it was. A few weeks later, I got a package accidentally delivered to my house meant for the neighbor. It was one of those soft Amazon packages, so there was definitely nothing breakable in it. It was something like slippers or maybe a coat. So I went to that neighbor's house and I tossed it towards her door. Well, apparently after this, she called my work, demanded to talk to my boss, and demanded that I be reprimanded. She said that I confronted her cousin and yelled at him to stop riding his off-road vehicle and that I callously threw her package at her house, which all of this was just clear exaggerations of what actually happened. My boss explained that my work has nothing to do with the dispute between neighbors, but she still wanted him to talk to me about it. My boss called me into his office and told me what happened, and it was so embarrassing. Plus, I work for a notable firm in the area that doesn't appreciate negative PR. I decided not to make things worse and I didn't confront her, and it was so frustrating seeing her smugly drive by every single day. Fast forward 4 months, and I got home from work to find packages on my deck. I brought them inside and I discovered one of them was addressed to the neighbor. So I thought to myself, oh boy, here we go again. I decided to go for my evening walk as planned and figured I'd try to be the bigger man and return the package when I got back. And trust me, the temptation to be petty was immense, admittedly. When I came back from my walk, I found the neighbor and her older daughter on my deck. And when I got there, she asked me if I had her package. I went inside and I grabbed it and then I handed it to her. I told her I did not appreciate what she did by calling my boss and lying about the details. Well, that went about as well as you'd think it did, because she then accused me of stealing her package and told me it's a federal offense to mess with her mail. I told her that I had planned to give her the package, but she was stuck on how it was inside my house. She then asked me if I planned on throwing it like I did the last one, and I told her if anything was broken, I would gladly pay for it. Then she said the thing that I honestly did not want to hear. She asked if I wanted her to call my boss again. Well, my heart sank, and I told her to do whatever she wanted. She started to waddle away, and I started going back into my house. Then I heard her yelling at me again. She turned around and started screaming about how I took her mail. I turned away from my door and I told her to leave and that she was trespassing, but she literally would not leave. I told her at least 10 times to just go, but she kept yelling about calling my boss and telling me that she had cameras. Well, so do I. I pointed at them and then she finally left. And then, wouldn't you guess it, the cops showed up. She is the main reason I put up cameras, because of other stunts that she's pulled, and thank God that I have them. I showed the cops the footage and they just laughed. I guess she reported that I stole her package and that I had threatened her somehow. I showed the cops the video of the UPS guy dropping off the package, as well as me bringing the package inside without looking at it. As a result, she has now been officially trespassed and can't come onto my property anymore. But trust me, this gets better. She actually called my boss and told him the same lies that she told the cops. So I sent him the video and he said that he understands. But it's still such a garbage situation to deal with, and I honestly hope I don't have to deal with these people ever again. Yeah, I can't stand people like this who clearly lie to the police and then turn around and act like they're the victim somehow of stuff that they're actively doing. That's really petty, it's really annoying, and it's super dishonest. But thankfully she got trespassed from your property, so hopefully you never have to deal with that lady ever again, because her attitude and demeanor is completely inappropriate, and you do not deserve to live like that in the slightest. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Would I be the jerk if I kick out my bridesmaid simply because she kicked me out of her bridesmaid's party when she got married? Because right now I'm at a crossroads and I seriously don't know what to do. Okay, so here's a quick timeline just for clarification. In November of 2021, my friend, who we will call Taylor, that's not her real name, got engaged and asked me to be a bridesmaid. In April of 2022, I got engaged and I asked Taylor to be my bridesmaid. In June of 2022, I find out I'm pregnant and I tell my friends, including Taylor. And in August of 2022, she she asked me not to be her bridesmaid anymore, and her wedding was in October. She claimed she decided not to include me anymore because she didn't want to put any extra stress on me with bridesmaid responsibilities. Now, I was disappointed, but appreciated that she was looking out for my health. It turns out it was all a lie, and that while she was at a party with friends, the topic of my pregnancy came up, and she said what she really thinks about all of it. Taylor said several times how irresponsible and thoughtless I was for getting pregnant. It was all unplanned, but my fiancé and I had been dating for 6 years and living together for 2. She also said how annoyed she was that she had to replace me, as a bump would ruin photos and make the day about me, as people would probably talk to me about my baby. After finding out that Taylor lied to me, I was extremely hurt. Our mutual friends had no reason to lie, and multiple people told me the same story on different occasions, so I know it's all true. I completely understand Taylor wanting to not be overshadowed in her eyes, but it's not like I planned it around her wedding. I also gave her the opportunity to kick me out before by asking her at the same time I announced my pregnancy if I should still buy the dress, and she said, "Of course, you're still in the wedding." By the time she had told me I'm not a bridesmaid months afterwards, I had already paid for part of the bachelorette party. I had bought and altered my dress and planned out all mine and my fiance's travel and lodging for the wedding, as it was across the country. My pregnancy became complicated, so my fiancé and I decided to not risk it and miss the wedding. We told Taylor by the RSVP date, and she understood and even sounded relieved. I had my daughter right on time, and Taylor's wedding was beautiful from the pictures that I saw. I'm happy for her, but now I don't know what to do for my wedding. We pushed back our date to prepare and save up more money, so I'm not getting married until this November, but now that I'm back to planning, I'm not sure how I feel about her being in it. She has never admitted to her lie, but has no idea that I know about it, and our friendship has stayed good otherwise. But she still talks about people behind their backs, especially when she's drunk, but then claims they're best friends and that she loves everything about them. So I don't know what all she says about me. I can't shake the gross feeling that I get when she asks me about my child or says how excited she is for my wedding, knowing she went behind my back and said such mean things about me. So honestly, would I be the jerk if I kick out my bridesmaid all because she did the same thing to me? What should I do? Honestly, I'm kind of surprised you kept a relationship with her in the first place. Like, this lady does not sound like a good friend, and it does not sound like someone I would want in my wedding if I was in your shoes. So to me, it's not really a question of, oh, should I invite them to my wedding to be a bridesmaid? In my opinion, it's more of a question of like, well, should I even be friends with them in the first place? Because she clearly had selfish intentions as to why she kicked you out of her bridesmaid party, and in my opinion, I just can't imagine having her still in yours after all the things she said to you. So if you do decide to go through with it, I don't think you'd be the jerk in the slightest. I think you have every right to have whoever you want in your bridesmaid party, and in my opinion, I just don't think that would include someone who's going to talk to you in such a way. Am I the jerk for giving my friend the silent treatment after he turned down my invitation to be my groomsman? Here's what happened. So my fiance and I are getting married in Mexico, and the very moment we decided on a destination wedding at an all-inclusive resort, we knew we had to inform the most important people in our lives so that they had time to prepare. We informed our family and closest friends first and quickly began forming our wedding party. I invited one of my closest, oldest, and best friends to be my groomsman, and had also considered asking him to be my best man. We had been great friends since high school, we played and coached football together, and I was a groomsman in his wedding. Even though I moved to a different state for work, we still made a great effort to call and get together in person whenever we could. It never crossed my mind that he might say no to my invitation. When I first asked if he would do me the honor of being my groomsman, he hesitantly said yes. I excitedly bought personalized items for all my groomsmen, including him. A month or two later, he texted me to tell me that he changed his mind and didn't want to come to my wedding. The reason was that it was in Mexico, and if something happened to him, he would leave his kids without a father. Now, when he said that, I was floored. It wasn't a cost-related problem. It wasn't a situation where he's like, oh, I have no one to watch my kids while I'm gone. It wasn't even a time off work problem. It was just him saying that he might get taken out while in Mexico. Well, I haven't talked to him since, and he hasn't reached out to me either. So am I the jerk for giving him the silent treatment? What should I do? Yeah, I've got to be honest, it's kind of weird that you're giving him the silent treatment for not coming to your wedding. Like, for starters, you're asking him to come out of the country just to go to your wedding, and some people are simply uncomfortable with that. So the fact that you would give him the silent treatment all because he's not coming to your wedding is really immature in my opinion. Sure, he's one of your oldest and closest friends, but you're asking him to go outside the country to go to a wedding. Like, I know me personally, I probably would not attend because I probably would not be comfortable with it. Also, this is not some kind of like court summons, like he doesn't have to go if he doesn't want to. So in my opinion, I think you're making this into a bigger deal than it needs to be, and I think you need to realize that he's not obligated to go to your wedding if he doesn't want to go. My entitled management is forcing us back to the office, refusing to allow us to work remotely, and with it, they're requiring us to have a brand new dress code. So I decide to maliciously comply just to shake up their expectations of what's allowed. Here's what happened. I work in IT for a manufacturer that's a global organization with about 30,000 employees globally. Our really good CIO, who was technical enough to get it and smart enough to realize that a global organization needs global people from all areas with wide ranges of skills, suddenly retired abruptly. He led us very well through the uncharted COVID waters, and we did really well. His replacement was named and was a high-level financial guy about 2 years ago. Many of us knew what this meant, as there are some very accurate memes about finance guys destroying IT. Just around his 1-year anniversary, he announced that we must return to the office and use the same emotional appeals about collaboration and missing something with remote work, just like all the other brain-dead executives around the globe. After a couple of weeks of enforced 2 core days a week for only the office that he worked at and other corporate offices in the neighboring city, we were then set for mergers and acquisitions with multiple key offices. So after a couple of weeks of return to office, an email was sent about dress code and clean jeans, that it would be best to wear company-branded shirts and polos. After all, IT is on the same floor as the executives, and he's not going to look good bending the knee if us underlings are dressed in t-shirts. Comments were made on the side by middle management on how this would reflect poorly on reviews and merits. So that's when we decided to maliciously comply. I decided to purchase a 4-pack of high-visibility polo shirts, bright yellow, bright orange, teal green, and gray, each with reflective striping. We are, after all, a manufacturer, and our corporate office is attached to a manufacturing building where high visibility is required, along with hard hats, hearing protection, and safety boots. I mean, we take our safety seriously, and I applaud that after all, right? Well, today my manager let me know that both the CIO and the senior director that I report to, after a few layers of yes people, have commented that my shirts are not liked. My manager said that it's totally up to me what I do, but he strongly recommends picking my battles and not wearing those shirts any longer. So I'm leaving with this. I'm writing up an ethics complaint, but what should I wear for the next week's core days? I'm thinking about showing up in my suit and nod to those 2 cowards who can't even say something to me directly. But regardless, I'm really sick of the way these guys act. Honestly, I think that's a really funny way to get back at this company for making you wear stuff that you definitely don't need to wear at work. Like seriously, that's just like super annoying to be like, ooh, we need a dress code. It's like, dude, I work in IT, it's not that important. So truly good for you for pushing the envelope, because the way your management is acting is honestly a little bit obnoxious. Am I the jerk for refusing to talk to my parents until they give me an honest answer about my mom and her family? Because right now they're dodging all of the issues that I'm bringing up, and it's really starting to frustrate me, and I seriously now don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So I live with my parents and my younger siblings, and we were very close until recently. My first mom died when I was 6 days old. She got really sick in the late stages of her pregnancy with me, and she never recovered from it. A few days later, my dad packed up and moved with me because he couldn't stay where they were planning a life together. This left her family behind. She has parents, siblings, nieces and nephews, aunts, uncles, and cousins who were always a very tight-knit family. My dad met my adoptive mom when I was 7 months old. Out of insecurity on my mom's part and a desire to forget the future he planned with my mom, contact between my biological maternal side was limited to once a year. My mom didn't want to share the role of being a mom. She knew that my family would want to talk about my mom around me and would want me to know that she existed, but she didn't want to feel like she was always less of a true mom. And my dad has just never gotten over the pain of losing my mom, and he buries the past and her just to cope. I don't fully understand why they couldn't put me first in that decision, but they just didn't do it. My childhood was mostly happy. It had some negatives like wishing I knew my family better or that I had known my mom, but also I wasn't accepted by my adopted mom's family, so that was always really hard to deal with. Then I had more contact with my family. It started with texting and calling and Zoom calls regularly, and then convincing my dad to let me go for a weekend here and there. He and my mom did not like it, and the decision confused my siblings too. I have loved getting to know them, and they have loved getting to know me. Grandparents' rights weren't an option for them because of that one visit every single year. So seeing me more is huge for them. My parents really started to let me know how much they disliked all this extra contact. My dad said it's painful, and my mom told me that she feels less important because I'm chasing a relationship that ties to a mom I don't remember. A couple of weeks weeks ago, they told me I should think of them and my mom's feelings. But I asked them how they would feel if they were in my mom's shoes or her family's shoes. If they passed away while their child was just a baby and they were erased by their spouse and his new spouse. I mean, would they be okay with that? And would they be okay if my siblings or I passed away with a newborn and they never got to be a real part of their lives? Well, when I asked that, they refused to answer, and I told them that I didn't want to speak to them until they gave me an answer because they were being totally unfair to me. Well, my parents are angry about this, and my siblings asked me why I had to make this such a big deal. So I posed the same question that I asked my parents, and it helped them to understand where I'm coming from, but my parents don't like my no talking thing. But literally all they want to do is talk about this topic, but then also never give me a straight answer. So honestly, am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? Honestly, I think it's really weird that your dad and your adoptive mom are refusing to allow you to have contact with your other family members. Like, I totally understand that they're like mourning the loss of this mom, but it really seems like they've gone about this all wrong. For starters, it really doesn't seem like he's gotten over this loss in the slightest. Like, he even went as far as moving away and never talking to that side of his family ever again as some kind of solution to get over this pain. Not to mention the fact that your adoptive mom's family just doesn't do anything to make you feel welcome. That is really toxic in my opinion, and honestly, I don't think that's okay at all. And it also really does make sense why you would be like, okay, well, if these people don't like me, let's see if these people on my mom's side have anything good they want to say to me. And also, the fact that your adoptive mom's family would be like, no, we're gonna reject you. Like, that is such an awful thing to do, it's not even funny. There's literally no good reason for that, and they seriously should be ashamed of themselves. So in my opinion, I don't think you're the jerk for pressing them about this. This is a part of your history that you do want to know about. These are people that actually are related to you, that they're denying you for literally no good reason. And that seriously just doesn't make any sense to me. And I know if I was in your shoes, I would feel the exact same way that you do. Am I the jerk for not asking my fiance's brother's wife to be a bridesmaid, especially after all the problems she's caused in my life? Here's what happened. Okay, for starters, I have never really gotten along with my fiance's brother's wife. When I first met her, we were really nice to each other, but we didn't have anything really in common. We were cordial until about a year in, where we had an incident where she ended up kicking my fiance and me out of a room at an Airbnb because she felt as though she deserved the room more. It was also my 21st birthday, so that made it sting a little bit more. Since then, we've never really gotten along. I've always been cordial, but I had no interest in really being close to her because she always seemed to start drama with everybody. She's one of those girls who will start talking badly about someone just so you start talking about the same person, and then she turns around to run to the person to tell them everything that you said. I realized this after probably the third fight that she started in the friend group, so I've honestly just kept my distance. Now, where this gets tricky is that my fiance is constantly wanting me to try to be better for our relationship with them, and I have tried, but every time I get burned. I've thrown her a baby shower, did her entire gender reveal, and many more things just to try and be on her good side, and somehow I always end up being the bad guy. I drew a line in the sand at the beginning of this year when she unfollowed me on multiple social medias, and when she was confronted, I was, in my eyes, gaslit and told it was an accident when she was purging her accounts. The idea of even asking her to be a bridesmaid only got brought up after she found out I asked a few people, and she called my fiance crying about how she thought we were closer than this and how it's not fair I don't ask her to be one. Now, I refused because I know that if I do, it will make my day more stressful, and that's not something that I want. I compromised and said that I would invite her to the bachelorette party, but I'm being told that I should be the one to reach out with an olive branch. So honestly, am I the jerk here? What should I do? Wow, this lady sounds incredibly entitled, and she sounds like a massive jerk as well. Like, seriously, she makes all this drama literally for no reason. It seems so pointless, and it's all just to like start stuff for the sake of starting it. Like, it's really disturbing where she would like manipulate the conversation and only talk about like a certain person just to get you to talk about them, and then she would turn it around and tell the person that you were talking about, but like in reality, she started all of it. Like, that alone is enough for me to be like, yeah, there's no way you're gonna be a bridesmaid. And also, guess what? It's your wedding. You can decide who you want as a bridesmaid, and literally no one can do anything about it. If you wanted to have no bridesmaids for your entire wedding, then you could do that as well. Like, it doesn't make sense to me as to why you should have to be forced to have her as a bridesmaid when she's done so many awful things to you. And when it comes to anyone being like, oh, you need to reach out with an olive branch, it's like, are you kidding me right now? You've done all these baby showers and all these other things, but you're the only one that gets burned in the end. Like, she's never satisfied with anything that you do, do, and it's obvious that nothing you ever do will be good enough. I mean, she even kicked you out of the Airbnb all because she felt like she deserved it more. Not even mentioning that this was on your 21st birthday. Like, seriously, this lady does not sound nice, and it doesn't sound like someone I would ever want in my wedding party, like in the slightest. So no, you are definitely not the jerk. You should not be forced to have her as a bridesmaid in your wedding, because in my opinion, especially based off of like previous incidents that you've had with her, I'm pretty convinced that she would only cause problems at your wedding. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you want some chill music to put on in the background, check out easymode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.